Today we take a step backwards in time to those earliest days when the STL Patreons were just starting to boom, with a brand that I've been looking at for quite a while. I hope you like skulls, because this stands out for the grim and the dark. As such, you have been warned. Today, we're going to be covering the Skulls and Bones set by Bestiarum Miniatures. By contrast with some of the other sets that I've reviewed, this one is comparatively small. As I said, it's from the early days. And as such, we're going to start with the centerpiece of this particular set, the Gilat. This is a very cool giant or aberrant monster. The theme of this set is skulls, bones, and cannibalism. And the sheer amount of human stew on this model in particular sells that theme excellently. It's literally collecting parts of humans in its pots, and it's like little pouches on the armored belt thing. And it's just such a nice, like, grim gothic horror. You have that emaciated body shape with the bloated belly that has that kind of rip going through the center of it that looks like it's so close to just being overfilled and ripping open. The guillotine over the mouth is very well rendered, let's say. Conceptually, it looks a bit odd, but it does have a very grim feeling to it. For a very early model in their catalog, this is a pretty overall impressive model. That said, there's a few things we do need to talk about first, though. The guillotine and the platform themselves, they do seem to be a little out of place. Some of the ropes here are a bit on the thicker side, and small components to it, like the crossbeam, just appear a tad too big. The bodies that the giant's holding, though, they seem a bit oddly proportioned, and I don't think they're necessarily at the correct scale. The one you're seeing on screen right now was printed in 32mm scale, but the bodies and the victim that the giant is holding, they appear a bit small in comparison to the other models in this set. Likewise, the pot and the metal plates on the belt, it's very interesting, but it looks just a bit off in that scaling. But it's still a very solid model, and it definitely indicates the heights that Bestiarum will reach in the future. Now, let's talk about that Cannibal Warlord. This guy, absolute beast, straight out of Berserk or some similar property. The details here are emblematic of what Bestiarum Miniatures will become. The hair with the vertebrae acting as a band is excellent. The hammer being this weird hybrid of metal and skulls all chained together, and that detailed bone headdress, it just works so well. I'll admit the bone corset thing is a bit silly, but intimidating as hell. After I eat your flesh, I'll wear your bones as a corset to show off my glorious pecs. Intimidating and as commanding as one would expect for the leader of a tribe of cannibals. Because these guys are oozing with theme. Bones as armor, brutal weapons for hacking and cutting up flesh, not just killing. It just all works here. The bone armor really does deserve a mention because this is probably some of the best individual depictions of that fantasy trope I've seen in a long time. It's really hard to get bone armor to look good, and Bestiarum has succeeded in this case. The hanging feet and the heads with their intricate bone masks that are fixed very tight to the head is very clever. With less of the bone armor to them, they look actually more intimidating. It's almost as if they were gaining an unnatural resilience from their cannibalistic acts, and they need less armor as a result. This leaves us with the Demon Hunter and his 2 bound demons. First off, yes, I do know mine is missing his hand. The Hunter himself, damn near perfect. He looks like he stepped right out of Castlevania with that jacket over the heavy medieval Renaissance style armor. The emblems of his office making it apparent at a glance what he does. And even the choice of weapon here is just perfect. It's that like lethal blend of torture device and killing potential. An ideal tool for beating some demons into submission. The 2 demons themselves are excellently posed, mature, yes, yet chained to the hunter in such a way that it would suggest that in spite of those chains, you don't want to get between those claws. I like all 3 on a single base, but I think I may end up separating them. So, what are my overall impressions? This is an older set, and it shows what Bestiarum will become. But I can't recommend the entire thing. The 4 infantry models, the Demon Hunter, and the Tribe Leader Warlord are worthwhile buys if you're interested. But I can't recommend Giant too much. I feel that it needed another pass over the sculpt, and they might have had something. If it really catches your eye, go for it. And in general, that's what I think this set really is about. If the theming doesn't put you off, and the very grim and dark themes aren't a problem for you, you might find some interesting pieces here to acquire as one-offs. So let's rate this. Theming, I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. Oops, I have to give you a 7 out of 10. The Giant is just too much of a mess. The longer I look at it, the more I kind of dislike what I'm seeing. In terms of playability, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Usability and playability on the tabletop is going to be a bit of an issue. These models are cool, and they really do have a niche, but the problem with having a niche is that means you're not going to be the default that I'll reach for when I need something for a table. I can't speak to the printability. These were ordered off of Etsy, but these prints appear to have no apparent faults. For a final score, I have to give these a 6 out of 10. Select the ones you really like or need for a skirmish game, and just stick with those. I'll give Bestiarum Miniatures this. They got much better very quickly, and this release was not in any way indicative of their current quality. So that's another STL review done. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to hit the like and subscribe button for more of these STL reviews, and I hope to see you in the next one.